It's the HoopWise Podcast from New England Basketball Journal, a comprehensive look at the basketball landscape in New England, tracking prospects, recruiting, college, and more, with your hosts, Steve Hewitt and Ethan Fuller.
Welcome back to another episode of the HoopWise Podcast. We are part of New England Basketball Journal. I'm Ethan Fuller. As always, I'm joined by Steve Hewitt. It is the holiday season. It is the best season. Winter basketball is here. We've been watching a little bit of NEPSAC in November. Yeah, get fired up. Let's go. Love the crowd. So we've watched some NEPSAC over the couple weeks before Thanksgiving, but we are back. NEPSAC's going to get in full swing, but our next two episodes are going to be about MIAA season previews. We'll be talking boys today, and then we'll have a girls episode coming up. Before we get to that, other exciting news is our fall magazine came out in November online. They're being shipped out now. I have finally gotten my hands on a physical copy. It looks awesome. Let me see if I can avoid the glare here, but yeah, Tabor on the cover, great photo work from Patrick Donnelly, tons of season preview content in here, a lot of good feature stories in NEPSAC, in MIAA, a lot of really good stuff. So if you haven't seen the online issue, or if you like physical copies because magazines are cool, feel free to reach out and we can get you one.
Yeah. Subscribe,
they're awesome.
basketballjournal.com.
Yep.
All the options are on there.
Yep. So yeah, it's really exciting. It feels like we have a physical preview to look forward to. We're finally in this home stretch of talking about all of our previews. We've been doing them for a while.
We're just tired of talking about previews.
Yeah, right? We're tired of the previews, but we are excited to talk MIAA because that's been a good build up. And I wanted to ask you, Steve, as again, this is your first kind of go around through the full season and especially MIAA. Before we get into teams and players and everything, what about just kind of the vibe of high school basketball gets you excited for this winter?
Yeah. I don't know how much really the viewers and listeners know about my background, but I never played high school basketball. I just wasn't good enough, wasn't skilled enough.
I feel that. Yeah, it's all okay.
I went to Bristol Plymouth in Taunton, Mass, which at the time, what we're talking about 15 years ago now, was Division 4, I think. I think they're Division 2 now, which is another topic for another day about the divisions and everything. But
we will talk about those. Not today though. Yeah.
But I think I tried out for the freshman team when I was a freshman and didn't even make the cut for that. And I was like, after spending like so much time in my childhood going to basketball camps and everything, I kind of put basketball to the side. I was like, I don't think this is really going to work out for me. I ended up playing soccer at BP. So I never really got to experience like the MIAA basketball season. So this will be my first time, and I've seen videos, I've heard the stories of like just how crazy some of these gyms can be, especially in certain leagues like the Merrimack League. Some of the coaches have been hyping me up in the preseason about just how crazy those atmospheres can be. I don't know if you can attest to that.
Absolutely.
I think you've been to a few of those, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, between the girls' games that I've been to, and I covered some boys' games at the Globe too, and it's just like, especially once you get into February and then you get into the state tournament, the gyms are amazing. There's no bad environment, and you can go anywhere. Like you mentioned, the Merrimack Valley, those games are awesome. The City League, the Boston City League, obviously those games are just so fun to go to every time.
Yeah.
The Hockomock is really good. The Catholic Conference is really good.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a lot of these top teams as we get into this, but it's fun every time you go.
And it's no knock to NEPSAC, but there's just like a certain level of pride with these kids playing for their hometowns, and their friends that they've grown up with, watching them, and especially the top teams when they make the state tournament and make the championships. Just that level of pride and being part of something, like being part of your hometown, like that's something special and unique that you can't really replicate in NEPSAC necessarily.
Yeah.
So that makes it definitely special and unique, and I'm looking forward to kind of following those journeys and telling some of those stories this winter for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you said, a lot of really, really cool stories that come out of a lot of the MIAA teams, public school, private school in there, vocational school. It's all really fun to watch.
Gotta shout out the Vogue schools, absolutely.
Yeah, we do. So kind of off of the MIAA and NEPSAC dynamic, again, we're not going to get into a lot of those conversations right now, but as what typically happens is there is a lot of turnover year over year because a lot of the top MIAA players go to NEPSAC, and there are some storylines even beyond that are worth kind of mentioning. I'll kind of give you the floor to round these up, but Worcester North, for example. is one of the biggest storylines going into this year after what they've done the last 2 years.
Yeah.
What are you noticing with the turnover?
Yeah, that's kind of the first thing that stuck out to me when I first started doing research on MIAA basketball in the summer when we launched that thing. This thing is just how many players have gone on to NEPSAC schools, and the state champions from last year. I think we'll get into it. Three of the state champions from last year, just like their best players are gone, and the cores are gone. And you mentioned Worcester North, Al Petway, the head coach, after they won 2 straight Division I titles, beat Franklin in the state final this past year. I think they won 45 games in a row. And then going into this year, just like their core is gone. Al Petway is gone. He went to Worcester State to be their head coach. Amir Jenkins at Worcester Academy. T-Sean Steele went to Darrow. Kari Bryans at Proctor. Who am I missing? Keyshawn Joyner is at McDuffie.
Yep.
So it's like the stars are gone from Worcester North. So that'll be interesting to watch them kind of figure out how they're going to rebuild there.
Yeah.
Division III, Charlestown, as we've talked about, Jalen Hunter Coleman went to Northfield Mount Herman. Jalen Williams Crawford went to Cats. Division IV, Wareham won back-to-back titles as well, but they lost, I think, 6 seniors. Who was it? AJ Lopes, their star point guard, went to Bridgeton for a postgraduate year.
Yep.
So just like a lot of turnover, that, and that's not even to mention Josiah Adamson went from Catholic Memorial to Cats.
Yeah, he was awesome there.
Jaden Roberts made a kind of a last minute move this summer from Burke to Putnam Science, and he's actually doing pretty well there from what I've seen at Putnam Science so far. So just a ton of turnover, and it's kind of in those divisions in particular, like feels like it could be anyone's game this year. And,
Yeah.
And we'll get into Division II. That's a different story, but that's kind of my first like sort of gut punch like reaction to watching all this turnover. It's just how much like how wide open those divisions are this winter. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is like the parity is fun in a lot of ways, and it's fun to kind of see what teams and players emerge, because we're going to hear a lot of new names this year that might not be on our radar before.
Yeah.
That being said, I imagine, especially for you going into it as your first year, it's like you don't have a whole lot to base off of just with like prior knowledge and reading that you can find. There is a lot of learning that you're going to also be doing in addition to the rest of the community about these players.
And yeah, I'll be the first to admit I'm not the biggest expert yet on MIAA, but I will get there. This is going to be my first winter. It'll be maybe some growing pains with trying to follow some of these teams, but I feel like I've got a pretty good,
you've been putting in work.
I feel like I've got a pretty good idea of who the best teams and players are going in this winter. And I'm excited to see, like you said, there's definitely going to be some players, and we'll get into maybe some impact freshmen coming up, the 2028 kids, who might make an impact this winter. There's definitely going to be some new names to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. And there are plenty of stars coming back, and I do want to lead with one of your stories that was in our magazine. Go read the fall magazine. It was great.
Let's keep plugging the magazine.
Yeah, we'll plug the magazine. And one of the teams that has a lot of continuity coming back has a singular star coming back who is one of the biggest stars in MIAA. A team that's been kind of a dynasty recently, Malden Catholic. I'll kind of give you the floor on what you've learned about this team and about Gaffney, because he is going to be a huge player this year, and what gets you excited as they potentially go for a four-peat.
Yeah, I don't know where do we even start with Malden Catholic. There's just so many different places I could go. As you said, going for a four-peat, 3 straight Division II championships. So we talked about Division I, 3, 4, those teams with the turnover, but Malden Catholic has kind of established itself as a little bit of a dynasty here. Trivia time. I don't know if we have any sound effects for that. I probably should have told you as before.
Thanks for telling the producer before the show. See what I can do here.
A little trivia. Who was the last team to four-peat in MIAA boys? Do you have a guess?
I have a guess. I don't. Oh boy, this is
Jeopardy?
This is just putting the spotlight on me to get this wrong.
So does he have like a minute to answer and like write it down?
Yeah, time's almost up.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready with my guess. I don't know if it's gonna be right.
Yeah.
My guess is gonna be New Mission, because I know that Corey McCarthy and New Mission were really good. I think he won 4 titles there. I don't know if it was in a row.
It's not New Mission.
Okay.
It's not New Mission.
Give it.
Sorry, I was trying to ring you up incorrectly. I'll work on that.
That's all right. I'm going to get a lot more questions wrong.
Yeah.
You'll have plenty of time to work on it.
Charlestown.
Oh, man.
They won 4 straight from 2000 to 2003. They actually won 5 of 6, won again in 2005.
Wow.
So that's something I've learned through thanks to Matt Gaffney, actually, while I was reporting out this feature in the magazine. He knew that off the top of his head. I asked him if,
Man.
I asked him if he knew if there's been a team that's four-peated in a MIAA, and he was pretty quick to point out that Charlestown did it. So he's very focused and locked in on that singular goal. John Walsh is the head coach at Malden Catholic. He's kind of established that it's actually his alma mater.
Yep.
He's built something pretty special here. Obviously Matt Gaffney's the senior guard, probably the best player in MIAA. I don't think it's really an argument, I would say. Like, he's the only player playing D1. He committed to Navy.
Yep.
He played with the Middlesex Magic. He led them to the Hoop Group Championship this summer, which I also wrote about. BasketballJournal.com, find that.
Good plug. We're getting the plugs in. I love it.
But really, really great kid. Really special talent. I'm looking forward to watching him. I actually haven't seen him live in person yet. But really fun to kind of report that story out. His father, Ted, played football at BC in the 80s with Doug Flutie, actually,
Wow.
which was a cool little tidbit
That's awesome.
that I
Yeah.
found out. So definitely a big-time sports family. Matt, a little undersized, 5'11", probably why he didn't get like a ton of D1 interest, like a widespread D1 interest, kind of a late bloomer a little bit. But I think he kind of likes kind of maybe punching above his weight a little bit. I think that's part of what makes him so great.
Yeah.
Lambros, Papa Lambros, his coach at Middlesex Magic this summer, told me he's probably the greatest winner he's ever coached, which is pretty high praise.
Wow.
I don't know if it was exactly that quote, but I think he said, like, if he had to pick like a team to win any game, it would be Matt Gaffney. So that's all to say. Matt Gaffney, just a winner. Obviously, like we said, 3 straight Division II championships when he was a freshman on the great Malden Catholic team that was led by Tony Felder.
Yep.
Who I think went on to Radford, right? Division I Radford.
Yep. And then
sorry,
he transferred around a bit, but yeah, he was at Radford.
So kind of learned a lot from Tony when he was a freshman, and kind of got handed the keys to the program when Matt was a sophomore, going into his sophomore year, and kind of ran with it. They're like great couple of years, kind of doing that, and definitely had interest from NEPSAC schools, which I also covered in the feature. Turned those offers down. Don't know exactly what schools were reaching out to him or anything, but creating a legacy at Malden Catholic was very important to him. I know having a Catholic education was really important to him, so we wanted to stay at Malden Catholic. I'll let you read all the rest of the details in the feature. I don't want to give too much away, but they have really lofty goals this season, led by Matt. He told me they actually want to go undefeated this year.
Wow.
Kind of a little bulletin board material for the rest of MIAA. They want to go 25-0. And one interesting note that kind of surprised me, they actually haven't won the Catholic League in this little run that they've had. Matt was in 8th grade the last time they won it. And during these state title years, whether just kind of injury luck, I think, has played a part. And obviously the Catholic League is really good. You have Catholic Memorial there, BC High, it's Varian, St. John's Shrewsbury, St. John's Prep.
Yep.
I think there's one more. Can't remember off the top of my head, but tough league anyway. But it feels like this, if they're ever going to win the league with Matt, it would probably be this year. I think CM's a little down without Josiah gone to Cats, and Jay Cofield went to Bridgeton, and I think they had another senior starter that graduated. St. John Shrewsbury lost their longtime head coach, Bob Foley. Yep. So they're kind of going through a little bit of a transition. PC High Zavarian have good teams. I think the one thing about the Catholic League is all these teams kind of reload and figure it out. But some of these teams might be kind of late bloomers, maybe later in the year. So Malden Catholic kind of has all the pieces there this year to maybe finally put it all together and win the Catholic League. And Matt was telling me just how excited he is about the team, and he feels like he actually has like 15 guys on the team that could probably start.
Wow.
Elsewhere.
Man, okay.
He had a lot of cool. He had a lot of great things to say.
Yeah.
About the program and his belief in what they can do this year. And he's joined by Ben Howard, who is their center. He actually averaged a double-double last year, 12 and 11. And they have some other returning pieces. So it just, I don't know. It seems like Malden Catholic is like this is their time to win the Catholic League, and obviously they've already built a dynasty in D2. I don't know if anyone's really touching them in D2 this year. Obviously injuries permitting, like you see that everywhere.
Yeah.
You got to stay healthy throughout an entire winter and there's some luck involved there. So I'm excited to watch them this year. That should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it all. They just have the winning pedigree. They have the senior experience. They obviously have just legit talent. John Walsh, too. I believe I have this stat right because I have talked with Cathedral girls coach Clinton Lasser about it. I believe they're both tied, I think, with coaching legend Jack O'Brien. I think the three of them are tied for the all-time lead in state titles at 6. And so at least with Lassiter and Walsh, they are battling for that title. And they both have teams that are kind of expected at this point to win another title. So that's kind of cool internal competition within there. But yeah, this is Malden Catholic is going to be really good regardless of division. Like we've talked about Division 2, which is still an awesome division in and of itself, but you can go up to D1 and obviously through the Catholic Conference too. And they're just going to be a really, really good team. I'm excited to watch them and kind of watch you follow them.
Hey, it's Bobby Moran, Director of Athletics at Thayer Academy. You know what? Experience matters. And Thayer Academy's professional coaching staff understands how to work with each student athlete to help them succeed. Our coaches and faculty are committed to ensuring both 5th to 12th graders feel known, connected, and prepared. This is Thayer's secret sauce, nurturing each student to reach their full potential. Here, success is truly a team sport. Are you ready for your child to take the next step? See what Thayer has to offer at thayer.org. That's THAYER.org.
Are you serious about playing your sport in college? Do you need a flexible education that allows you to maintain your practice and competition schedules while also preparing you to succeed at the next level? You should check out the University of Nebraska High School. UNHS is accredited and offers more than 100 online courses, including NCAA-approved courses to protect your academic eligibility. Students could earn a UNHS diploma or take a single course for transfer credit. Courses are college prep, self-paced, and available 24/7, 365. Enroll anytime and take up to a year to complete a course. Visit highschool.nebraska.edu today.
Going to other conferences too. You put down our little notes of teams that we want to cover on this podcast. A couple of Merrimack Valley Conference teams, Central Catholic and Lowell. Again, we've talked about how good some of these rivalries are up in the MVC too. And so I want to give you those two because those two similarly, both in D1, are teams that return a lot of experience, return some star power. And again, with Worcester North in at least a perceived rebuild year, the D1 floor is kind of open for a lot of teams.
Yeah, I feel a little bad because there's a lot of really good teams that probably won't be mentioned on this podcast. We'll eventually get to them, I think, at some point in the winter. But yeah, like you said, the Merrimack Valley Conference is probably the one I'm most excited about. Just
for sure.
Just if you ask me to predict like who's going to win that league, I don't know if I could give you an answer.
I think any given year, no one could give you a solid answer because it's so tight.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Lowell and Central Catholic for sure will be in the running. You can't overlook Andover, Lawrence. So it's going to be a battle in the Merrimack league, those coaches specifically have told me just kind of how crazy those environments are.
I highly recommend for you. We got to do all our scheduling for the winter. It's going to be crazy for us, but post Christmas is the Commonwealth Motors Classic, and it's a lot of northern teams, but it's very heavily MVC centric. So you'll see, I don't know what their bracket looks like, but you'll see a lot of these teams in the same like mini bracket.
All right,
that will be really good. I covered that 2 years ago, and they had Beverly with Ryder Frost in that tournament too, in addition to a lot of these MVC teams. And those
another magazine plug.
Yeah, Ryder Frost in here too. Now at Phillips Exeter. We will continue to talk about him plenty, but yeah, I totally agree. Like, these games are awesome. These teams play so hard.
Yeah. And just to touch quickly on Central Catholic and Lowell, I wanted to get to a few of the teams I want to watch this season and some of the players too on this podcast. But Central Catholic and Lowell specifically, I think both those teams have a lot of returners and some star power that I think makes them maybe front runners more than the other teams. I think they both lost in the Division 1 round of 16 last year. I'd have to double check that, but Central Catholic, led by head coach Mark Dunham, they have all Merrimack Valley guard Javi Lopez back. He averaged 18 points a game last season as a sophomore captain. He's back as a junior. Yeah, he was kind of thrust into a sort of a leadership role last year. He was telling me, Coach Dunham was telling me just they had lost some pieces the prior year, and they needed Javi to step up, and he did so. And they're expecting a big junior year from him. Added some muscle, I was told.
Okay.
Over the offseason, improved his ball handling, improved his defense. So could be an exciting year. He should probably establish himself as one of the best players in the state this season as only a junior, which is really impressive. They have Central Catholic. We're talking about three players from last season's, three starters from last year's team back. Want to make a mention of Antonio Lopez, Elias Yanoa, and they're going to be tough. Mark Dunham told me they like to schedule a difficult schedule. They have CM on their schedule this year. They have Newton North, Needham, Lynn English, in addition to these Merrimack Valley teams. So they're going to be battle tested once March comes around, and assuming they make the tournament, which they should, given their talent level and experience. They'll be battle tested and definitely in the running to make a run for a state championship.
For sure.
And then we have Lowell. I'm going to butcher the coach's last name. Bob McKelzick.
Okay.
Do I have that right, maybe? Sorry, Bob, if you're listening to this. I'll get the name pronunciations down at some point. These names are all still a little fresh to me.
Yeah.
But their star is Sar Paula Aparicio. Had another, listen to this stat line from last season: 17 points a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals.
Okay.
He's entering his senior season for Lowell. They're expecting a lot from him. He pretty much does everything for them: facilitating, scoring, rebounding, defense, everything. They expect him to get some college basketball interest. I don't know what level that specifically is, but who knows if he has a big enough winner, what kind of interest he could get. And their goal is pretty clear: when the Merrimack Valley make the tournament, and kind of see what happens from there.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see those two teams in particular from the Merrimack Valley, and that's going to be a conference worth watching for a lot of local basketball fans.
Absolutely.
Around here, I think.
Yeah. And you alluded to strength of schedule. Different podcast, we will get a little crash course with Steve on the MIAA power ratings and how
I can't wait
controversial that is on several levels for a lot of different people. But strength of schedule is really important. And that's why it's also really important to play in a league that is so deep, is because you kind of have those built-in good strength of schedule games that help your power rating. And that is all I'm going to say about the power ratings right now, because I don't want to turn this into a different episode. A couple more teams that you have written down here that I just kind of want to let you hit on. Attleboro, again, one of the best teams in the Hockomock League. Again, one of the best leagues in the state. Another kind of similar to MVC. You're getting good games almost every night.
Yeah.
And then Bourne, state finalist last year against Wareham. I watched that game while I was writing off the game I covered, and they're a good team. I expect them to be good again. But you've got more detail on those too. I'll let you talk about that.
Attleboro is interesting to me. It wasn't necessarily on my radar when I was going into my research process for the season preview, but every coach I talk to when I'm kind of asking around, like, hey, who do you think is going to be one of the best teams this season? Like, what are you hearing? A lot of them said Attleboro, and they're not talking to each other or anything. This is like their own, everyone's sole opinions on like who might be good this year. And Attleboro was a pretty consensus choice.
Wow, that's interesting.
So not to put any pressure on head coach Mark Hull.
I think it's Hooley.
Is it Hooley?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark. Again, with the name pronunciations, these are going to be difficult.
I might be wrong too. I'm not going to.
But no pressure on Attleboro. But they're considered maybe an early favorite. Certainly for the Hockomock. I know Franklin made the state final last year. They lost a lot of pieces from last year. They should still be good, but maybe a little step back given what they lost. And Attleboro brings back a lot of their core that made the Division I tournament last year. They made the round of 32. This was a really cool tidbit. They averaged 61 points a game last year. They bring back 60 of those points.
Dang, that is helpful. Wow.
So there's a lot of continuity, a lot of chemistry. These kids have played together, I'm guessing, for the majority of their lives too, growing up in Attleboro. And they're battle tested. I know Coach told me they actually beat CM at the end of last season, towards the end of last season. So they're going to be good. I would peg them as a Hockomock favorite. So no pressure on Attleboro.
Okay. I'm watching Attleboro.
I'm excited to see you guys this year. And then we'll drop it down to Division IV, as you mentioned, Bourne, state finalists last year. They are definitely hungry to kind of get over the hump. Wareham, like I said, I think earlier in the episode, lost pretty much everyone from that team. Back-to-back state title, back-to-back state champions in D4. AJ Loves went to Bridgeton and for a postgraduate year. So it's kind of wide open for Bourne to just kind of take that mantle this year, assuming they can stay healthy. Mike Danker and Nathan Reynolds are two of their four senior starters coming back.
Wow.
So that helps.
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
coming back. Reynolds specifically, I was looking up some of his games from last year. I think he had 34 and 23 in a game last year.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, these two guys are senior fours, are kind of like bruisers down low, 6'5", 6'6", which doesn't seem big, but for MIAA, I think that's
it is
pretty big, right?
Those are bigs, yeah.
So they're going to be two of the best players, not only in Division IV but across MIAA, I think.
Okay.
And I know they lost two really good guards. Leo Andrade was one of their guards from last year. So they lost a little bit in the backcourt. I think they'll make up for it with what they're coming back. And I can't imagine anyone else in D4 should be pegged as an early season favorite over Bourne right now.
Yeah.
So again, no pressure on Bourne.
Yeah.
But
they've been close. I imagine it's tough to lose to your conference regional rival in the state title last year. Like that's a tough game to lose. I imagine they have plenty of motivation to get it done this year. And so those were the kind of S tier of teams that you want to talk about. You have some players here too that are on other teams, and again, a lot of these other teams that these guys are on, I would consider them in the title hunt too. And so I'll kind of give us a rundown. I do want to mention before you get to the other ones, you have Matt Breen down here at Shawshing Tech.
We got to shout out.
He's someone I can comment on because we watched him in the Northeast.
I wanted to mention
Showcase.
that.
Yeah, so at least there's something I can back you up on. It's like, I've seen this guy and he is legit and a really interesting prospect and player. So you got Matt Breen and then you have a couple other guys here too.
Yeah, I mean we can start with Matt. Yeah. Like we saw him this summer. I don't think either of us had really.
I didn't know
too much about him. 6'9" big for Shawshing Tech, which we're gonna give some love to Shawshing Tech.
Yeah, we are.
Division III, I want to say. I think it's Division III. I looked that up. So give them some love. They might not necessarily get that otherwise, but Matt Breen's legit, I think.
I was really impressed.
Yeah. Really good rim protector. He can put the ball on the floor. I saw him a few times kind of take it coast to coast in transition. And we talked to him after, and that showcase was all about kind of showcasing the MIAA talent.
Yep.
And these guys might not get as much exposure as the NEPSAC kids. And he's one of those kids that definitely got NEPSAC interest, but he told us he kind of wants to be a legend at his own school at Shawsheen and kind of make a name for himself there. And I think he's gotten pretty good college interest. I think he said he got some D1 interest.
Okay. That's really interesting. Okay.
So, yeah, I'm excited to see him this season. Try to make a trip to Shawsheen at some point to see him play, and I'm excited. Maybe he can lead them, make some noise in D3. But yeah, Matt Breen. Shout out Matt Breen.
Absolutely.
And some of the other players I wanted to touch on, not necessarily from the teams to watch, but we can't go this episode without mentioning Tegan Swint from Newton North. Newton North should be definitely a player in D1.
Yep.
Tegan Swint, outside of Matt Gaffney, I would say probably the second best player in MIAA. Probably the best scorer, pure scorer in MIAA. He scored 24 points a game last season.
Yeah.
He had a 45-point game at one point.
Dang.
Which I believe set the school record at Newton North. Not surprising. That's a pretty big game.
Mm-hmm.
And they're obviously expecting big things from him. He's a 6'4" guard. Can't talk today. Paul Connolly, their head coach, told me he's seen sort of an improvement in his vision and his playmaking this summer. And I think Tegan understands that opponents are going to kind of maybe lock in on him and force other players around him to beat them. And he's going to have to maybe unlock some of that playmaking skill and vision that he's developed over the summer. So he's definitely a name to watch. We mentioned Franklin. Caden Sullivan is back from the state finalist team.
Yep.
A lot is going to be on his shoulders. Kind of a really good two-way player for Franklin. And I think he shut down Ryan Higgins, Catholic Memorial star, last year in the state final. So was that the state? That was not the state final. It was the Final Four matchup. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. But yeah, no, that's an impressive shutdown. Huh?
Yeah. So a lot will be on his shoulders for Franklin. Like I said, I think that maybe they take a little bit of a step back with what they lost, but you know, they have Justice Samuels coming back, brother of Jermaine.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You didn't know
Let's
that?
Go. That's awesome.
Younger brother. Jermaine's been in the NBA for a little bit.
Yeah.
But Justice is back, so Franklin should still be good, and Caden will have a lot to do with that. Really intriguing name for me, Cole Craffey for Oliver Ames.
Okay.
Started his high school career at Oliver Ames. Then he went to Brimmer last year. For whatever reason, that didn't really work out there. But now he's back at Oliver Ames.
That's interesting. Okay.
So some coaches have told me Oliver Ames, not necessarily a powerhouse, I would say, but they could make some noise this year. And Cole Craffey, he's a really good scorer, and I think a lot of people in MIAA will know his. I think people who follow MIAA probably already know his name, but he'll probably reestablish himself in the state this winter, and I'm excited to see him.
It's another Hockomock team.
Another Hockomock. Yeah, Hockomock's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
And then I want one last name is Josh Rue from Andover. Heard a lot about him in the preseason. One of the best shooters in the state. He actually made my list, that best shooters list that I posted a few months ago.
Yep.
Was an honorable mention. He wasn't in the top 10 of the 10, but he made an
on your radar.
He made an honorable mention, and maybe the best shooter in MIAA. I don't know, but scored 14 points a game for Andover last year as a freshman.
Wow.
And going into his sophomore year, they're expecting a lot from him. Andover lost a few guys, so he started as a freshman. I assume he will continue to start for them, and he'll be a big part of what Andover does this season. So those 5 names I definitely wanted to mention some intriguing names to watch this winter.
Yeah, and that's another MVC team. So there you go. Yeah, I think the general takeaway from this is, one, some of these leagues you can go to on any given night and see a great game, and then two, there is, even though we started talking about the amount of turnover, there's a lot of star power, and there is a lot of young star power too. So I think that'd be the last thing I want to ask you is, I know you briefly touched on the freshmen, and you don't have to go too much in detail, but
I don't know too much about these guys, but it sounds, I've been told that there's pretty good freshman class coming up in MIAA.
Okay.
And I feel like that's maybe kind of what it is every year. And
Yeah.
There's always some promising freshmen, but 3 names I want to mention. Anthony Daniels from Milford High School. He's a 7-footer.
already.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I think I saw 6'11" on one of the sites. 6'11",
Oh my
7
gosh.
foot.
What school again?
Milford High.
Wow. Okay.
Plays for BABC. So 7-footer in MIAA.
Noted. Yeah. Doesn't happen a whole lot. Yeah.
Think he might make some noise this winter. I want to mention Jakari Jenkins, Catholic Memorial freshman, had a big year, big summer. I saw some snippets of him with the Beantown League. I think he impressed there. So Jakari Jenkins for Catholic Memorial, and then Darian Rudder from Putnam Votech, a Springfield kid, another BABC guy. Sounds like he's just a tough guard, Springfield born and raised. So excited. Those 3 freshmen, I'll point to watch this
Okay.
winter, I think.
Yeah. I think it's important to get them on the radar because even like we see a great freshman come through, even like Josiah last year, he was awesome as a freshman. And so I think some of these names will definitely be ones to watch.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts? I think that kind of covers it.
That covers it for now. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack and just a lot to learn about. That's what makes December so fun, is you just kind of are taking in so much new info. And then next time we'll finally have some takeaways from this season, and that'll be fun to break down too. So for Steve Hewitt, I'm Ethan Fuller. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you out there on the courts, and see you next time.